Hi, I'm Tyson,
I'm Colin.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Laurel.
and we're the Gamesmiths, and we're here to learn how to play Chrysopoeia. And to get us started, Ryan's got the rules.
All right. The domains of Chrysopoeia, once abundant with ores and mystical elements of the cosmos, was a prime location for the wise alchemy lords to thrive as they delved into the mysteries of their science. Once united in purpose, the alchemy lords built a great device, the harness, to subdue the essence of chaos and from it create order and perfection in the world. But then, with their insatiable desires for the deepest of mysteries, they began to cast aside too many laws of the cosmos. The unforeseen and unintended workings of alchemy opened a void in the aether itself. The great harness became instead a well of chaos, threatening all of reality. The formless tides of chaos had begun to manifest throughout the lands of Chrysopoeia, and now strange beasts and vaporous horrors roam free, while chaotic vortices sweep the domains with their twisting, malevolent winds and have left many structures of men in ruins. Blaming each other for the disastrous failure, each player must send out their golem workers that have been armored against the rival golems and against the raw energies of chaos. Only these golem creatures can endure the wasted ruins surrounding the well, where they must salvage materials for alchemy and construct apparatus pieces for your lab. Players must use their skills in alchemy to create 4 mystical seals for the well and banish the chaos. Each player strives to be the first to save the world, for those who perform their alchemy poorly will only advance the threat of chaos. Banish the creeping chaos before it unravels the cosmos. Be the first player to create your 4 seals with your alchemy and place them on the well of chaos. However, if you or your opponents are not cautious, chaos may break free and end the game for everyone. Chrysopoeia is the Greek term for transmutation into gold. Is a game for 1 to 4 players where each player assumes the role of an alchemy lord and is seeking elusive substances of prime materia and the philosopher's stone. With these mystical elements, the portals of chaos might be sealed again and order would be restored to Chrysopoeia once more. In a world of steam-powered contraptions and anachronistic aether science, players must manage their resource production by animating worker golems, sending them to scavenge resources and build items at abandoned facilities. Players spend resources to build laboratory equipment and upgrade their worker golems. Use the gauges and needles to track your steam power, your fortifications, and your uses of your time vessel. Build up a supply of rare earth chemicals, which are essential ingredients for your alchemy experiments. And these experiments will enable players to claim the title of Prime Alchemist when the Well of Chaos is at last sealed, restoring order to the world. So that's a kind of just an overview of the game. I'm going to go. So this is this game is pretty rules heavy and has a lot of rules to it, and so I think that the best approach is I'll just give you guys an overview of kind of what everything is and what everything does and kind of basically what you do on a turn and what your options are, and then we'll play through the first couple turns of the game with the rule book real close and go through stuff in detail because it's kind of a lot to take in at once. So here we have the board, and everybody has their player board here where you're going to track your different kind of stuff. So each player will have a bunch of needles in there, or arrows in their bag here, and you're going to use them to like watch your different meters. So you have like your steam production, and that's just going to go in the middle there, and it kind of spins to point at your steam production. And same thing with your chrysometer and your aether capacity. So everyone should have 3 of these things, and it'll kind of show your capacity for stuff. And we'll go into that, but you just kind of track your progress through that throughout the game. You have these wooden tiles that mark your progress, or these wooden columns that kind of mark your progress for if you actually get to build something here. So essentially, one of the things you can do is build, like it said, build stuff for your alchemy tracks. If you do, you use these columns to track kind of the different things that you've built, and those will be important for later. You got these little slidey things right here that go on each of your cards. and they should all start on the lowest number. Only the three of your cards that have numbers.
Okay.
The prime one doesn't. And these are your golems. These represent your different golems. So you're going to send the golems out to collect stuff and gather and build stuff, and they're the ones that are going to be doing all your work. So they're your different workers, and they're also going to kind of fight against the other golems, and they do all your stuff. And the goal is you're the mighty alchemist sending these things out to gather and bring stuff back. And then when they get back, you use what they gathered and brought back to do your alchemy experiments that create the seal, that create the seals that we need to win the game. So start everything on their lowest number, and then the goal is, you'll slowly upgrade these guys. So everybody's scout is exactly the same, but your other two creatures are unique to you. So we all have kind of slightly different things. So I've got an invader and an oxide fragmenter on top of my scout, whereas Laurel has an enforcer and an alkali harvester on top of her scout. And you'll notice that each player should have a blue creature. When this creature gets all the way up to, when you upgrade it, we'll go over how to do that, but when you get this creature all the way up, maxed out on all its stats, you can pay 2 more resources to have it transform into the last golem you have, which is your prime golem. And then once you have your prime golem, that's just like your total badass golem that can walk around and do whatever they want all the time. So it's a good thing, and you want to have it. So yeah, like I said, you're going to go around. So the main things that you can do on your turn are over here on this board right here. So each of us is going to start off by taking a avatar that'll be our character, and it'll be one of these. And whatever you're going to do for the turn, for each turn you pick one of essentially these 4 paths. Either you want to move and produce, you want to gather and build, you want to return, or you want to do alchemy. And so that's what you're going to pick. So for my turn, I'm going to pick one of these things. And they each have different things, and that's basically your whole turn is what you do here. And you do have some free actions like playing cards or spending resources to buff stuff, but these are your major choices. So if you choose to move and produce golems, then what you're going to do is you're going to take each of your little golems, also has a representative token in your bag here that represents them. Oh yeah, so you got all your guys out there.
Yeah.
You actually don't want to put them in the stands though, because you put them on the thing here. So like this is my scout one, and I'm going to send my scout golem to the mine, and so I'll place them there. So if I decide move, I essentially get to put all of my golems kind of wherever I want. If there's a golem blocking me, or if this is full, so you see here there's 3 spaces, but there's 4 of us. So if this is full, if each of you guys each had one here, I would put my golem here, which is in a challenge space, which means it's going to fight its way in, and it'll fight the golem with the least resistance that's in that spot. So, and it'll try and take its spot from it. So if somebody has their scout there, that's probably the weakest, and the scout will get fought and knocked out. Whenever you fight, the attacker gets to roll an 8-sided die, and the defender gets to roll a 6-sided die. And then you add their resist scores to your die total, and that's how you decide who wins.
Okay.
So generally there's an advantage to the attacker. So if you're going to move, that's what you do. So you kind of say like, okay, I'm going to place this guy here, this one here, and that one there. Then the next thing they do is produce, and what you'll do is you'll roll these alchemy die, which are for production, and you'll roll them, and then depending on the results of your roll, you'll produce different minerals in different places. So you're like, okay, I want to use this one to produce 4 minerals here. So then that would put like 4 gems here. Mm-hmm. And so production is just that. It starts stacking up stuff inside these areas for you to, it just stacks it up there, really. And then, and that's pretty much it. So you're going to move, do any fights that you need to do, sometimes if you lose a fight, you can get banished to the wasteland essentially, and you'll have to resolve that. Um, but the second thing that you can do is gather and build. So then, after you, for example, if I said I'm going to produce, and I produce a bunch of gems here on one turn, then the next turn I'm going to gather or build. So if someone is there, if you see there are two types of spots here. There's these spots that are underneath just kind of the general area, and then there are these spots that say build that are underneath these specific areas. So your golems have kind of two ways to interact there. They can build, which means they are going to take this card and they're going to start working on it. They're going to start contributing resources to it. And so resources that they've gathered earlier in the game can be used to start like building things essentially. So if your robot's in your golem is in a build spot when you go to build, you're going to spend resources to try and buy these upgrades, and we'll go into what they do later. If they're on a spot like this, then they gather the stuff that was produced earlier. So if you have gather, then you can do exactly that, and you can gather, and you gather based on your robot's gather skill.
Okay.
So then you pick these up, and they go on the robot's card, showing that the golem's card, showing that the golem has like gathered these resources. So you can get these rare earth minerals from the mine. The boiler gets you steam power, which you can use to kind of do stuff like get extra moves for your golems, or get to re-roll dice if you don't like how they turned out. At the chasm, you get cards that do stuff that can earn you gold. Like, draw two random resources in a gear. They actually put stuff in the wasteland, which is kind of a common area that everybody can grab and earn you gold. And then there is the ruins, which have these gear, Colin, if you get someone out of that orange bag there are these gear resources too that would be produced over at this place. So you gather gears over here, you gather minerals over here, you get steam here, and you get gold and chasm cards here. So depending where you are, that's what you gather. And then if you're in a particular build spot, you go to build these things. So then return golems. So as an action, you can pull all of your golems back. Actually, if you ever get attacked, so if I were to move here, and Laurel had her scout here, and her scout was the weakest, and I was going to attack it, Laurel could, as a free action, say, well, I'm just going to have that scout retreat and return back to the base.
And this can only be placed here
If these are all full.
Okay.
Yeah, so these would all be full in that scenario. And so Laurel can actually, instead of fighting and maybe losing and going to the wasteland, if she's cool with, like, if this scout already has a bunch of resources on it, she can use that as the opportunity to basically have the scout return for free. So you can either have you can either have your golems return for free if they're attacked, or you can use your turn to return all of your golems. And when you return golems, that essentially brings all of the stuff that they've been gathering back to you, so you can use them for stuff. You can use them to upgrade the golems, for example, to slide their resources up. So you call the golems back to base to to build up their resources. Or to make them stronger so they can like gather more resources and stuff like that. And then you also gather these minerals which you need for alchemy. So the last thing that you can do on your turn is alchemy, which is basically trying to complete one of these alchemy recipes. To do an alchemy recipe, you have to have the required materials, which is just these matching gems. So you have to have enough of the right matching gems. So this one needs 2 white and 1 orange and 1 black for me to, or 1 blue, I think, actually. I'm not sure which one. For me to start working on it. And so if I have all those minerals for my turn, I can do alchemy, and I can say, okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to try and make alchemy essentially. And then what I have to do is I roll these alchemy dice, and use their symbols to kind of like Yahtzee style try and match them up. Right, those ones there on that. So if I were to able to roll on these dice 3 of a kind like this, then I would successfully complete this challenge, and I would use one of these arrows to mark this as complete. And I can keep going as long as I want, and if I can successfully, on my turn, I can keep rolling essentially until I fail. And every time you roll and fail, though, it ticks up this chaos ring. And, one thing that I forgot to do is every one of these spots on the chaos ring should have one of these red gems on it. And every time we spin the wheel and it lands on a spot with a gem, then that gem is removed. And if we ever get to the point where there are no gems on here, we lose the game. Everybody loses the game. It's over. Chaos wins. So every time that you try and roll alchemy and you fail, you're going to have to spin the chaos wheel and have a possibility of pulling a gem off and getting us closer to our doom. So you can kind of roll forever, so that's where these things come in.
Does that card still need 2 gems on it?
Yes, it will need 2 gems.
Alright.
So you'll see each of these have a 1 or a 2 up there to show kind of how difficult they are. If you successfully complete this, so if you successfully complete all these challenges, what you'll do then is you'll get one of these prime material, and these are like the most valuable resources in the game. Like, this is what you want more than anything. They're like wild cards that can be used to make the runes to win the game. They're just the best. You want to have these things. So completing this card will get you 2 of them. Completing any of the other cards is only going to get you 1. You see all of the cards have at least 1 square that's bright orange, that's shaded in dark there. If you can complete the challenge with those as double, so this one would be 1 like V symbol, 1 O symbol, and then like 1 little molecule symbol there. But if I can do it with 2 instead of 1, then I will instantly create a matching seal. And you see that each of us have our seals. So if Laurel were to complete this one like this, here we have a V, a little O symbol there, and then 2 of these dot ones. And these ones are wild, just so you know. And 2 of these dot ones. So if she could complete it like this, not only would she win the challenge and get this material, she would instantly make this seal and would get to place it here as having put one of her chaos seals on the board. So the 2 ways of getting seals are either completing a challenge like that, where you double up on the one that's shaded, or by, if you look here, if you come to any of these places, the automata or the forge at any of these places. So this one specifically, if you want to make this same seal that Laurel just made, you can also come to the forge with your prime golem. So you have to upgrade your golem to a prime golem, send your prime golem here, and then your prime golem will have to spend 4 of these prime materials, and that will also create this symbol. So you can either create enough kind of complete enough generic experiments to use the red gems to buy the stuff that you need, or you can successfully complete them by, getting the double here. So so that's kind of your goal. And if you fail, so if you roll and you fail, so if I had rolled that roll with 1 extra fire, nothing would happen. But then let's say I roll and I fail, so I don't have enough to actually complete this. I have a V, and then 1 of these, and then the rest are fires, let's say. These fires cannot be placed here. And since I failed to complete any roll, then I have to give up 1 of these materials for each fire that I rolled. So now, if that means, so like in this scenario, I rolled 3, I lose enough that I don't actually have the required materials on my board now to fill this out again and keep working on it. So I would actually take my alchemy experiment back here. There's also there are also these chaos tokens that you'll get throughout the game by doing chaotic things. And if you happen to have one of these, when you roll your die, you flip it over, and any symbol that matches gets turned to fire. So that's just kind of a penalty that you can kind of assess throughout the game. So if you pick up these chaos tokens, they're going to make your alchemy experiments harder. You can bail on an alchemy. So when you start, you say you want to start doing an alchemy experiment, you're actually going to move it onto your board and track it as the one that you're doing. And then we use these to mark the ones that you do successfully, because you're allowed to bail out at any time. You can say like, oh, I don't feel like I have enough minerals, or I'm nervous about this one. I just want to stop for now. I don't want to spin that wheel anymore. You can do that and wait for another turn. So you can keep doing alchemy as much as you like and causing a bunch of chaos if you don't actually have the stuff. So that's where these things come in, is to make, So you're allowed to keep trying one alchemy experiment as many times as you like on your turn. But every time you fail, you risk burning minerals or having to roll the chaos wheel. So you can choose to stop at any time if you feel that the risk is too high for whatever reason. You can make your alchemy better by buying these things. So if you have this Aether Crucible, you see it has this symbol on it. It will change any one die to this symbol. So if you have a fully set up alchemy rig, you can kind of change all your die however you want to make actually doing these experiments easier. You roll, and then you can change what you need to change to actually complete it. Each one of these has one of those that just make it a symbol, and then they also have some special ones. So like the goggles here will let you change one die to any symbol, and this one will let you, on a failed reaction roll, draw 2 rare earth tokens. So there are different kind of things that you can get bonuses to. So the goal is to make one of each type of symbol in your and the first person that can seal off, put all their colors on all the corners before all of these red gems disappear wins.
So can there be more than one on at a time?
Seal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't conflict with that. So if
Yeah.
I were to make my red of that one, I just set it
Okay.
next to you. So that's the basics of it. So one thing to know is, if you get killed, you can get sent to the wasteland, where there will be some generic resources that you can gather from the wasteland, so it's not all bad. And you flip over one of these golem cards, which is like elemental drone, which will give you a temporary buff to your golems. So this, your gather, build, resist 1. So this will just be okay, for this one turn, I'm playing this elemental drone buff on my scout, and I'm going to make his resist +1. So, let's say Laurel's trying to come in here and fight us out, right? And Tyson and I both have our scouts in, and they're both super weak. Laurel would normally get to choose which one she wants to fight, but I can go like this. Oh, I'm giving mine +1 resist. Now I'm not even an option. I just got a 1 buff. Now Tyson's clearly the weakest, and Laurel can.
So these stay in hand and can be concealable?
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are yours. If you draw them, you can keep them in hand. The last other thing that you can get is, if you have the toughest golem, if you have the highest resist, when you move into an area, you get the die for that area, which means you get to do that area's special action. And we'll go into specifically what those are, but for this one, you get to move the boat, and the boat can go get resources from the wasteland for you. And here, if you're the toughest, so just know that if you have the highest resist in a spot, you'll get an extra
additional,
bonus.
okay.
And we'll go into what those bonuses are as we're playing. So that's basically it. I'm trying to think if there's anything I missed. And then you also have these cryo research things that are just kind of good cards generally for you, that you'll draw throughout the game too. And they're generally draw 1 of each mineral, draw 3 salts, take 1 prime mana crystal. These are all, or the prime material crystal. So these are all really good. So draw 1 of each. So these are just good things. So if you have the opportunity to draw these research tokens, that's good. And then you have, so a few things real quick. Your steam production, if it ever goes above 15, it doesn't really, well, you know what? I think we can actually kind of start from there. So there's everybody has a little airship too that you can move around with your steam power, and so that lets you get like extra moves and stuff like that. Your chaos defense, I think I should just explain that stuff. Your chaos defense is when chaos attacks, there will be like, whenever chaos goes off, chaos will roll a d20, and your chaos defense, basically your golems plus your chaos defense need to meet or exceed that number, and if it doesn't, that's kind of when you get a chaos token. So your chaos defense can help defend against that. And so you have the opportunity to kind of invest extra dice that don't do anything into your chaos defense if you want to. And then these researches, I'm sorry, every time you earn gold, you'll tick up your Chryso research meter. And anytime you reach 5, 10, 15, or 20, you'll draw one of these cards. So that's a good thing will happen essentially every 5 gold you get. Once you get all the way up to 20, if you say have 19 gold and you earn 5 more and go up to 24, you're just going to reset back down to 0. You'll still draw the card for hitting 20, but you just go back down to 0. But essentially every 5 gold you earn in the game is going to draw you one of those do a good thing cards for me.
Okay.
So yeah, those are the basics of the game. That's kind of all the different materials, and we can kind of go over the minutia as we're playing. Does anybody have any questions?
I think that covers it.
Okay.
I'm
Great.
sure I will.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. No. I mean, there's a lot left still to kind of explain, but
Who
yeah,
goes
that's
first?
That's
Yeah.
the big stuff. We are just gonna roll, and highest number goes first.
Cool.
Cool. So no other questions. Thanks a bunch, and we'll see you in the game.